All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. You hear this? This is my podcast, an hour to 2 hour long film based discussion show. You can find this on most podcast platforms absolutely free. You got that? In case you don't get it yet, this week's film of choice is the 1992 cult classic Army of Darkness. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre,
Caleb Boucher.
and this is Filmgazm. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. I can tell I don't think you like that very much.
I'm slightly disgusted.
I'm no Bruce Campbell. I'm well aware of that. But this one's special, and I wanted to do a little special, different thing. Nothing wrong with that.
No, you do your thing. I am just the co-pilot in this.
We recently saw the long-awaited release of the fifth film in the Evil Dead franchise, if you count the remake, which I do, Evil Dead Rise. So I threw my personal favorite film of the franchise on the schedule, the film that introduced me to the Deadite Scourge and to Ashley J. Williams himself, Army of Darkness. Caleb, what's your history with Army of Darkness? Not the whole Evil Dead franchise, specifically this film.
I just box me in like that. TV actually. I remember my dad used to catch this on like USA or something like all the time. And I had at the time as a kid, no knowledge of this being connected to anything because obviously through a lot of various reasons, it was titled Army of Darkness as opposed to just being Evil Dead 3, even though it is.
Yeah.
Which really gets on my nerves when they talk about like, are they going to do an Army of Darkness 2 or an Evil Dead 4? I'm like, hey, dumb fucking idiots. It's no matter what, it's Evil Dead 4, like whatever. But so this one will be playing on TV all the time, and I remember I caught it. And I remember I caught like I didn't even catch the beginning. I came on the scene with the pit. I had tendency to always come on like the worst scenes for me whenever my dad watched something on TV. I was like in the pit. I came on the scene with the pit, but like I remember watching being like, oh, this is a lot of fun and goofy, and it's a little scary, but not too scary. And I didn't think too much of the movie until then. I just occasionally see it on TV, and I was like this goofy little horror movie. And then I rediscovered it as I got into like the franchise proper, and then quickly fell in love with it and its charms and everything about it. So yeah, just a fateful day. My dad was watching on TV, and then kind of was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. And then when I went through the franchise, I kind of rediscovered it and fell in love with it even more.
Nice. Yeah, I have a similar trajectory with this one. It's Army of Darkness was my introduction to the Evil Dead franchise because my dad really wanted me to get into horror movies. But at the time, I'd had my issue with Evolution, with Signs. I didn't like getting scared. I did not like being scared. So I avoided most horror movies because I was like, I don't like that feeling. I don't want to have that happen again. My dad was like, hey, horror movies can be great and they're not all that scary. So he, tried to, guide me in slowly. So Army of Darkness is where he started because this is pretty, equal parts comedy and horror. So, when Ash, fell into the pit and, I thought that was hilarious and just the random shit he would say. I was like, this is funny. Are all horror movies like this? And no, they're not.
The sadness would not be like that.
So I watched the franchise backwards. Later on, a few years after that, I watched Evil Dead 2, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting, still kind of funny. Then I watched Evil Dead, and it freaked me out when that one lady got the pencil in the ankle. That really made me uncomfortable.
That scene still is so painful for me every time I watch him. I'm just like, oh God.
Sam Raimi, one of the best directors of micro budget horror ever.
Oh yeah.
But Army of Darkness has been one of my like top 10 favorite films of all time ever since I first saw it. I've owned every version of this. I had it on tape. I had the director's cut DVD. I had the Screwhead edition Blu-ray. Now I've got the like Shout Factory deluxe set that's got all the versions. And it's just hilarious. It's fun. it's Bruce Campbell's finest hour, as far as I'm concerned. Like, this is the Ash that we all remember and love. Just dickhead Ash fighting his way through hordes of the dead because they're in his way. There's
Hmm.
no saving the world involved with Ash Williams. He just doesn't want to deal with it, but he has to because it's coming after him.
Yeah, well, I think like especially if you kind of watch the franchise, you see he becomes the Ash we know by the time we get to this movie. Like he obviously you see elements of an Evil Dead 2, and a lot of people say he's kind of like starting to snap. Um, One of my favorite moments always when he just does like the laughing as the cabin's laughing at him. It's one of the best moments. Um, but you really see him become like Ash as we know and love in this film, which would get carried over in Ash versus Evil Dead, and the kind of take they want to do with the character then. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's usually people are like, oh man, like he must have been like this in all the movies. I'm like, no, if you actually watch the first movie, he's a damn near a background character until like the last act of the film.
He's a coward because, when your friends start getting possessed by ancient demons and killing one another, that's going to be your natural reaction is, oh my God, what the hell's happening? It takes a few more times of that for Ash to be like, God damn it, this again. Which is, yeah, I love that. The more your friends keep getting possessed, the more girlfriends you kill, the more it's going to desensitize you.
Yeah, and to the point where you start out the show getting drunk, high, and screwing a chick, and then trying to impress the chick you already screwed by reading from the Book of the Dead. If I recall the events of the premiere of Ash vs. Evil Dead correctly.
You do. You recall correctly. Because I remember at the time thinking, really?
Yeah,
Why?
I know. I remember watching and going like, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's the most Ash Williams way that this was going to happen. I just remember thinking like, dude, you already fucked her. Why are you trying to impress her? You've already done it.
Yeah. The events of every single movie that he's in are his fault. He's the one who presses play on Nobi's translation. He's the guy who doesn't say the words right. He's the guy who gets high and reads from the book.
Yeah,
It's all him putting his own, shit back in the bottle here.
technically, he is the cause for Evil Dead Rise. For anyone who didn't catch his cameo,
I didn't catch his cameo.
listen to the voice in the recording.
I thought that was somebody. I did not think was that Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it! I was scouring that whole damn movie for a cameo. I was really disappointed we didn't get one. We fucking did, and I didn't catch it. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. So there you go. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and assume he was responsible for the events of the remake too somehow. Wouldn't want to leave anyone out here.
Right. Hey, you know what? I'll find out. I have that nice like the Screen Factory release as an memory cut. Maybe there's some stuff that they cut out.
He's Mia's dealer,
Oh my god.
something like that. It's like, hey, baby, want some sugar? Like this, right there. God damn it.
Ash.
Yeah, these movies are great. We've often talked about how Evil Dead might be horror's only flawless franchise, where it's just a great original run, a really good TV show, a good remake, and even a good reboot. It's like no other horror franchise has that consistently.
This is one of those franchises where there's not a bad batch. Like it doesn't happen often. There's not a single bad batch. Um the point where it comes to ranking them, like if anyone's like, why is that one last? It's kind of like what I said about John Wick. Every single one of these films I love and I go back to and revisit.
Yeah.
One has to be last.
And we will get to that at the end of the show. So we got the whole episode to think that through and rethink that through. Our decisions might change between here and then. It's that tight. It's that close. But yeah, let's do it. So to start things out, my question to you: Evil Dead is, to many, one of the scariest horror franchises ever. To others, one of the funniest horror franchises ever. And I'm just curious whether you think Evil Dead works better as straight horror or as horror comedy.
In the hands of our director, straight horror. In the hands of Raimi, I think Evil Dead 2 is the pinnacle of what it should have been. With a perfect balance. But for the most part, and you guys will kind of see it reflect in my ranking. I am such a fan when they go straight horror and go for the jugular with these films and just let it be a fucking gore fest. I love gore. Anyone who knows me when it comes to horror, I love gore. I fucking I need it. Um, so for me, like these films, like when especially these past two ones, the 2013 one and obviously the most recent release, Evil Dead Rise. I mean, you promise these like just insane over top gore fest. I get fucking excited. I love it. I love it so much, and it to me it makes sense with how these demons are. They like to fuck with people. For them, as we've seen through all of it, and even to an extent, Army of Darkness. Yes, Army of Darkness goes a lot goofier, obviously, but you can still see it. They like to them doing the things they do to their human hosts and to the human beings who are fucking going through this. It's fun for them. It's like how they play. So it it and oddly enough, these films, for as hard they can go sometimes with the go in the horror, they still know how to be fun. Like even at 2013, like it goes hard in the paint for like gore and just being unrelenting, but it's so fun to watch with the right group of people at the same time. Oddly enough, I'll never forget when I saw that on like an opening night with a packed theater and like the fun I had with the audience that night. So yeah, I'm all about like them going for the jugular with the Evil Dead franchise.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. I'm more on the other side. I like a good horror comedy is tough to beat because that finding that grit, that balance really can create some great movies. And Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and the show all have that balance because Raimi and Campbell have never second guessed what they're doing. They know what this franchise is to them. They know what this character is best at, and that is sarcastic, bullshit. And I think it's just, when it's Campbell and Raimi, I want some more, I want some comedy in there. But I agree with you that when it's other directors trying their hand at this franchise, I think it's safer to go a little more hardcore, give us more traditional horror, because that Raimi Campbell vibe is special. It's unique. No one else can make that except Raimi and Campbell, obviously.
No.
And anyone who's going to try, it's going to come off as insincere. If they ever recasted Ash, there'd be riots in the streets.
There was almost riots in the streets when they announced the 2013 Evil Dead, and people thought, "Oh shit, they're going to recast Ash,"
I
and they
remember.
were like, "No, no, no." It,
So thankfully, in terms of video games, movies, TV, no one has ever played Ash Williams but Bruce Campbell, and
yeah.
it
Well,
will stay that way.
I think what helps big time is that, like, it obviously gets overshadowed by the celebrity status of Bruce Campbell, and Sam Raimi being a working director in Hollywood, but Raimi and Campbell are best friends. Like they're very good friends, and that I think is also what helps this work so well when it comes to like when they tackle Evil Dead, is that they're friends in real life and they've maintained that friendship through all the years. Like if you ever hear Campbell in interviews, he has nothing but the kindest things to say to Raimi, and so you can tell they still have a very strong friendship, um, in private.
That's yeah, obviously. It's lasted this. I mean, who would have thought that their like student film in 1981 would turn into such a multi-million dollar global horror multimedia franchise? It's just that's awesome.
I doubt they thought hell. Campbell loves to joke about Raimi directing Marvel movies. He's like, yeah, Sam's just over there doing big shot superhero movies now.
It's cool. I love that. I love that even in big budget stuff like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange too, you still feel Raimi's style. Like he hasn't lost that. And
Yeah.
that's just great.
Well, I was listening. Rob Tapert, the fellow involved with this franchise, kind of like the quiet behind the scenes producer. And same way we're doing an interview for like the anniversary or something of Army of Darkness, and he mentioned when they were producing that they actually were like producers on that film, and they had a hand like rein Raimi in. They're like, "Hey Sam, we don't have the money to do that. We can't do it for this movie." And they mentioned that what he does is he goes, "All right," and then he saves it for future films. So he just takes all the ideas that he gets told no to. He's like, "How can I use it on my next movie?" And now we get signature Raimiisms and even his mainstream stuff.
That is delightful. I love that. Every filmmaker should do that. If you can't afford it now, put it in the pocket and do it later. That's great. That's a great work ethic.
Yeah.
And it also explains some shit in some of his movies. It's like, oh, okay. I bet in 81, he was like, wouldn't it be great if we traveled back in time? And Campbell's like, shut the fuck up. We can barely afford fake blood. Sam, what are you talking about? Travel through time. He's like, okay, I won't forget that. And he like puts it in a notebook, travel through time. 10 years later, he's like, hey, guess what we're doing? That's awesome.
Yeah, they talked about that. There was apparently a lot of shit he wanted to do because Army of Darkness was his big budget Evil Dead movie, and he was like, "Oh, we can do this," and Sam had to be like, or Bruce Cameron would be like, "Sam, we can't afford that. You need to put that in the back pocket."
I bet when like Sony gave him like 90, 100 million, however much Spider-Man was, Sam was just lighting up like a goddamn Christmas tree. Like, oh, finally, nothing is off limits.
I think even Ivan has to, his brother Ivan Raimi has to rein him in sometimes and would have to like back up Bruce Cameron and be like, yeah, listen to Bruce Sam on this one.
I'm just picturing, I'm picturing that scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when Peter Quill learns he's a god and he's like, I'm gonna make some weird shit. Like that's what I feel like Sam was like when he got the check for Spider-Man. He's like, oh boy. Well, let's talk about how Army of Darkness came about. This is the third film in Sam Raimi's Evil Dead franchise behind 1981's The Evil Dead and 1987's Evil Dead 2. In fact, you can splice all three films together fairly seamlessly to make one long ass movie, which fans have done.
Yeah,
because cut it up a little bit, and you've got the saga of Ash Williams.
Yeah, because for those of you, especially if you've seen like the first film and then watch the sequel, and you're like, why does he go to the cabin again? Well, get into the basic because that's a whole other podcast right there on Evil Dead 2. Basically, they didn't have the rights to the first movie, so they had to refilm in the first 5 minutes the first movie, which means the first 5 minutes of Evil Dead 2 are yes, a remake or essentially a recap of what went down, and then the rest of it's the sequel. So everyone has that as like Evil Dead 2 is a remake. I'm like, no, Bruce Campbell himself has said, oh, they had a rights issue that happened, or they lost something, like something happened, so they had to hurry up and like essentially refilm the first 5 minutes in the first 5 minutes, a recap, and then sequel.
I mean, think of the franchise as three separate films. Ash is no genius. He's not, he's not a brilliant man, but he would not just go back to the cabin with a new girl after the events of the first movie and be like, hey, second time's a charm. It wouldn't happen twice. Like, that's not what happened.
No, it was literally a real life, boring ass, hands were tied scenario.
I love there's people who legitimately thought that, like, why would he do that? Like, the first time I saw these movies, even I was like, with no context of production, just like, oh, okay. I figured it out immediately.
Yeah. I figured it out because I've watched plenty of 80s fucking horror films where they do that in their franchises. Like Friday 13th, dear God, as much as I love it, the first like 4 or 5 films are like, and last year on Friday the 13th Part 2, this is what went down. And it's like 10 minutes of fucking recap. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're only an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's part of that desire to have, every franchise piece kind of stand on its own, which can be done, but doesn't have to be every time. Sometimes when a movie has part 2 in the title, it's not on you to reinforce a watch of part 1. It's up to the viewer.
Yeah, like, look, man, the people paying for, like, God, can you imagine if you're like going in to go see like Saw 5 and like previously on Saw 4? Like, no, yeah, no shit. I'm paying for the 5th one because I saw the 4th one and liked it and wouldn't see the new one.
That's your audience for sequels. Like, I hate pandering to the guy who goes to see Saw 5 and is like, I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know what's going on. Like, what was there something I missed? And like, yeah, 1 through 4. Go watch them and come back. It's not Twisted Pictures' job to recap the first few movies for you.
That's on you, buddy.
That'd be so infuriating if every single time you saw a sequel, they spend like a couple, 10 to 15 to like half an hour recapping the highlights of the previous films.
God, and look, don't I'm honestly like forgiving with like the 80s films and stuff because I'm like, okay, well, home video wasn't quite what it was like it is now on internet.
That's true.
I get it, And I was like, and I get it, I understand, but man, dear God, I wish they had like the ability to look into the future. Because now when you're like, you have like, the box sets and stuff, you're like, oh, let me do a marathon. And you're like, oh yeah, that honestly, the first 10 minutes of the next film was always like my chance to go take a bathroom break. Like, nope, don't pause because it's just the one repeat shit I literally saw like 2 minutes ago. So
I would love it if they treated it like a TV show. If they had like some announcer go like previously on Saw, and then they went into it, then I'd be okay with
tune in next year.
it. To be continued. Oh my god, if they got like the Super Friends guy to do it for every single franchise, I say bring
Bring it on. Previously on.
it on. And Army of Darkness does it too. It spends the first, 5 minutes telling, Ash telling his story. Like, this is how I ended up in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Me and Linda found the book. It's like,
Yeah, I think again, one, the time it came out, and two, because of the weird ass rights with this film and Universal having a hand to play in putting it out.
I didn't think about home video though being the cause of that. It's like, yeah, when you saw Friday the 13th, you couldn't just go, watch it whenever you wanted. You saw it and then it was gone for a year. And then you saw Friday the 13th too. And you're like, I kind of remember Friday the 13th. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Like, that is why they did this.
Yeah, they had to be like, oh, should we? Especially if you're like at that point on part 4, you're like, do I remember the first 3 movies?
Was it Jackson something?
Pollock, Jackson Pollock.
Like Jackson Venter, Frederick, something like I just you kind of know their names. That would piss me off. That would piss you off even more.
Yeah. I think up there when people like fucking point to my tattoos and they're like, they point at like Leatherface, or like Michael, and I'm like, it's on my arm. Why would you do this to me?
People praising your tattoos and getting them wrong.
Yeah. It's happened more times than you know.
Oh my god. I feel like if they do that, you should be allowed one punch. Just one. I mean, they're critiquing a human body at this point. It's like that's what you get.
Yeah. I realize that by pointing this on my arm, I'm trying, and to an extent, drawing attention to myself. But like, it's to the point where I'm like, please don't say anything. Please don't say anything. Because like, if you point at a part of my body or a part of my arm and you say the wrong goddamn thing, oh,
A good deterrent would be to just get Jason's hockey mask tattooed on your face. Like the whole face is the hockey mask. No one will come up to you to ask about the tattoo.
this is true.
Okay, so the working title for this movie was such a better title. I mean, Army of Darkness is not a bad title. It just, it's why people are sometimes confused that it's part of the Evil Dead franchise. The original title was Medieval Dead. I mean, come on. Why didn't Raimi use that? That is perfect.
I think he got vetoed is what happened. So he was working with a studio.
Yeah, god damn it. Let the man work. He literally pulled the first film out of his ass. Like, just let the man do what he wants.
Let the man create art.
Medieval Dead.
That's a pretty badass title. I was like, he revealed that recently. Actually, I think that was like revealed like this year.
I remember the revelation. I saw it on IMDb, and I remember thinking, like, yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I was like, that's a great title. Like, how dare they? I think he did say that like the studio kind of like shot it down. I was like, you fucks. That's a great title.
You won't let me have Evil Dead 3. You won't let me have Medieval Dead. Why don't you name it? How about that? You name the movie.
Oh wait, we will. Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness. Are you shitting me right now?
How about Ash and Arthur's Excellent Adventure?
You know what? It's caught on some of the home video releases, and Shout actually put it on there, and I took me a minute. Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness.
I know that is so odd. My uncle has the bootleg copy edition that they did, and that's called Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. And the movie, the opening title, calls it Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. It's so weird.
It threw me off because I've had before this, I had the screw edition, so it says Army of Darkness, and I picked up the Screen Factory Steelbook 4K that has has all the different editions. So I put it in, And I was like, I happened to look away for a second and I looked back up and I saw verses on the title and I was like, what the fuck? I put in Army of Darkness. And like, what is this? I did not put in Freddy versus Jason. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, okay, that's okay.
There are like three different titles. There's like three different versions of this movie, and it's pretty much a roulette. Whatever you get, that's what you're watching.
Yeah.
But everyone's just kind of cool with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you have companies like Screen Factory that's just like, hey, look, here's all of the editions. Have at it.
Thank God. Have you ever seen the 2007 movie My Name is Bruce?
I've seen bits and pieces, but not the whole thing.
That is such a smart movie. I want to do that on the show so bad, but I'm the only one who has a copy, and it's really hard to find.
Is it really?
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Like it's not streaming anywhere. I couldn't rent it. But I found a copy at Target like 10 years ago. I still have
Huh.
it.
Okay.
Basically, for those of you who don't know this, it's Bruce Campbell, I think, directed this. It's a movie about an Evil Dead fan who has an actual demon show up in his town and start fucking things up. So him being a huge fan of Evil Dead, he goes to Bruce Campbell, the actor, for help. And Bruce Campbell is playing a like angry, pissed at his career going nowhere version of himself who just doesn't give a shit. And this kid kidnaps him and tries to convince him to basically save the town from this evil Chinese demon. It is fucking hysterical. It's loaded with cameos from all the Evil Dead movies. It's a great, it's an underrated gem for sure. I recommend checking it out if you can find it.
Well, see, I'm looking on Amazon and holy shit, like all of it's out of stock. What the hell?
Right? I had no idea I like found accidental gold when I bought that movie.
Yeah, right? Like, what the hell?
And it's a DVD. Like I can't find a Blu-ray to save my life. So I'm just happy I got this. So one day when you track down a copy somehow, we will do this.
One day.
The script was first off, I love this. It actually ties into what you were telling me about Sam Raimi saving all his ideas. A time traveling adventure to the 1300s was supposed to be the plot of Evil Dead 2. They couldn't make it work at the time. There was like they didn't have the budget. They couldn't do what they wanted. So Sam saved it. And the title Army of Darkness actually came from producer Erwin Shapiro during the production of Evil Dead 2. So he was like, hey, if we get to go back in time, Army of Darkness, how about that? And Sam Raimi's like, why wouldn't we call it Evil Dead 3? Unaware of the shitstorm he's going to face in a few years. I bet that's what happened. He's like, no, Evil Dead 3 or Medieval Dead. How about that? And they're like,
All right.
you don't get to make this decision.
Yeah, I'm saying it's one of the most aggravating things. Anytime I see people be like, before Ash versus Evil Dead finally came out, materialized, is it going to be Evil Dead 4, Army of Darkness 2? I'm like, how are even the horror sites doing this? Like, guys, no matter what, it's Evil Dead 4, you fucking idiots.
What really
Like,
pissed me off about Ash versus Evil Dead is they weren't allowed to talk about Army of Darkness. The events of that movie had to be completely ignored. Ash couldn't work at S Mart. They went back
yeah,
in time, but they weren't allowed to go to the 1300s or anything like that. They couldn't talk about that.
I think the whole first season they had to avoid it, and they finally cleared it up for season 2, and they did finally mention it.
But then all we got was like, oh yeah, I went back in time once. That was it.
Yeah, it, yeah, the whole rights things with this is so weird. And even I remember when I was first like when I was rediscovering the franchise, right, and kind of getting into it proper, you know, and people be like, "Army of Darkness, that's its own thing." I'm like, "No, guys, it's the third Evil Dead film," and I'd be like, "Guys, this is why," and explain what happened. And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, watch the first Evil Dead films. It's the third Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 3. They just had to call it Army of Darkness."
You remember a couple years ago they released like a Evil Dead box set that had like the first two films and the show, and it was like the complete Bruce Campbell journey. And I'm like, Army of Darkness isn't in there.
Yeah, but
I
again,
don't
the
want it
rights
if you're not
thing.
going to give me Army of Darkness. Like fuck that. This is incomplete.
Yeah, but again, the rights thing. I thought about doing it because it has the first two on 4K, and then those only two I don't have on 4K yet.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I would rather just get them all myself than have an incomplete box set,
Yeah,
which I kind of did. I have Evil Dead 2 on 4K. I don't have the first one on. I have a nice British steelbook I don't want to part with of the Blu-ray.
yeah, fair enough.
The script was written by Sam Raimi and his brother Ivan Raimi. It was a mutual decision between the Raimis and Bruce Campbell to finally get Ash out of the cabin. They were like, we don't need another cabin in the woods movie. Let's do something different. Which I'm glad because, yeah, at this point, it would have been like, Ash, why the fuck are you still there?
Yeah, well, I like how as much as this series is known for being a cabin in the woods film, and as we kind of saw with the recent installment, they know that's going to get stolen. They actively will do what they can to get us out of the cabin and into new settings.
True, but I do love that each film still has a little bit of cabin in the woods.
Yeah, there's still that feeling. Even the new ones still have that feeling.
Yeah, it's good. They had to reshoot the ending of Evil Dead 2, where Ash lands in the Middle Ages due to a lingering rights issue. Because Evil Dead 2 ends with Ash landing in the castle times and shooting a big winged demon thing and becoming the prophesized hero from the Necronomicon. So they had to reshoot that, and I think it looks better in the reshot version. It looked pretty shoddy at the end of Evil Dead 2 because it felt like they weren't committed to the idea yet. It was just kind of like an end tease that might go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like with more of a budget and more structure, it looks better in Army of Darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the film's original ending, I love this. Using a passage from the Necronomicon, the wise man tells Ash to swallow 6 drops of the potion to return to the present. Unfortunately, due to a distraction by falling rocks, Ash miscalculates the amount of potion needed to be able to correctly return. He swallows 7 drops instead of 6. As a result, he wakes up like 1,000 years past his own time in a post-apocalyptic future and screams in dismay. He's once again out of time due to his own incompetence. Universal objected to this climax, feeling it was too negative and depressing in tone, so a more positive and optimistic ending was filmed. That became the theatrical ending, and Raimi's dystopian ending became the ending of the director's cut.
Yeah. It's almost funny how that to them was like too it's too depressing. I'm like, but it fits the character like perfectly, and that was the whole point. I was like, he's not a smart dude. Like this, he would do something like this and fuck it up.
As Army of Darkness proves, Ash is his own worst enemy.
Yes. So and it kind of sucks that we have never got. I'm hoping maybe with Bruce Cameron confirmed that Ivan and Sam Raimi are writing a quote unquote a Bible for future filmmakers to use so we don't have to wait a decade for new Evil Dead. They can actually, in their words, get one out in like 2 or 3 years as opposed to a whole decade. So who knows? That idea might hopefully happen one day just by a different filmmaker with Sam Raimi at the producer's helm to help out.
Yeah.
Or he might even direct one. Who knows? But it really sucks that he has been trying so hard to do like this Mad Max meets Evil Dead, which sounds fucking awesome if you ask me. And both with Army of Darkness and then Ash versus Evil Dead, it just doesn't happen. I'm like, can we just please get this version of Evil Dead, please?
I can't believe it's been a decade since the remake. Like, I feel like that just happened.
Yeah, because remember, it was a decade of being cock teased by Fede Alvarez. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm very excited for his upcoming Alien film that he's shooting. But Jesus Christ, decade of like, yeah, guys, we're going to work on Evil Dead 2. We're going to do it. And then put on the poll. So you guys, Evil Dead 2 or Don't Breathe 2? And we all unanimously went Evil Dead 2 because where are we going with Don't Breathe? Where are we logically going? Because I don't give a fuck where we're going with Don't Breathe. I like the first Don't Breathe quite a bit. I did not need a sequel at all. Like I felt no reason to revisit this forward. And he went, okay, we read you loud and clear. Don't Breathe 2. Huh? And I'm like, dude.
I'll never forgive him for that poll. That was such a miscalculation. Did he really think people wanted like, oh, more rapey blind man, please?
No, it wasn't even more. Well, I say that like a bad thing. It wasn't even more. It was trying to turn this guy into a fucking hero. And that guy, look, what I'm saying is, Don't Breathe 2 sucks. All right, Trip, Don't Breathe 2 sucks. I actually quite enjoy Don't Breathe. I did not enjoy Don't Breathe 2. And everything was like, this is what you want to do instead of fucking Evil Dead 2? Are you shitting me right now? I was like, we could have just gone Evil Dead 2.
I'm waiting for the new poll where he's like, I could work on this Alien movie or Don't Breathe 3, huh? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then, everyone votes for Alien. He's like, the people have spoken. Don't Breathe 3, 2025. Mark the date. Save it. Oh God.
Yeah, so I swear I actually like that. I know he's currently filming the Alien film, and I am very excited for it. But I will never. There's a part of me that I will never forgive him for pulling that shit. It's like, don't cock tease me for like 10 years. So Lee Cronin, thank you for finally giving us a fucking Evil Dead movie and it being profitable. I think it's the only film that actually was successful because Mario is just gobbling the competition.
Well, you know, Evil Dead is always, I don't know, I'm trying to do like a gobbling metaphor. All I got is I'll swallow your soul. That's all I got.
Look, what we've learned is that Evil Dead's the one thing that was able to hold off the power that is Shaq Black singing in a movie.
Only two things can survive nuclear war: cockroaches and Evil Dead. There will always be another one. It might take a while, but we'll always get more.
Well, hopefully, we won't have to wait as long this time. Based off things Campbell has said in interviews, I think they are very aware that fans don't want to wait a decade just for a new installment.
Good. It's about time. Army Darkness ultimately grossed 21.5 million on a budget of 11 million. So, not great.
No.
Universal really wanted a PG-13 rating, but even with substantial cuts, Raimi had it stuck with R. Thank God. Just one thing nobody wants, it's a PG-13 Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, and it's funny too, is if you watch the theatrical cut, like I sometimes even forget it's rated R when I watch the theatrical cut. I'm like, it's not that violent. You get one F bomb, like it's like you tell Raimi was like, if I have to do this, I'm going to do just enough for you fuckers. Give me an R rating.
I think Ash bisecting his other self and like the pit bitch and all that. I think that's the R.
Yeah, like the geyser of blood that flew out. Which, by the way, in 4K, wow, was that red? Dear God, was that red?
Just in my Blu-ray, it's like Jesus. It's like Dayglow.
Yeah, that and like when Bad Ash, like when he's like becomes a general, is like fucking heads in the camera. Dude, the 4K in that moment, oh my God.
Oh, that's nice. I might have to splurge and just. I don't want to replace. I like my set, but if the 4K has all of that in slightly higher quality, I might as well.
Yeah, it's all that just higher quality.
I was
It
at
looks
Best
really
Buy today and I saw it there today for like $20.
That's not bad for that actually.
Yeah, I was like, not today.
Yeah.
Later, not today.
Was it the regular or like the steelbook that I got
An
right here?
exact one.
Ooh, yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, look at that steelbook. Look at that.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah, this is purely for your benefit. I honestly not see this right now, but this is purely just for you to look at this.
Go to Shout Factory, look up Army of Darkness 4K so you can look at this beautiful steelbook. You can mount that as art. That is gorgeous.
That is very gorgeous.
Army of Darkness has an IMDb score of 7.4, Rotten Tomatoes score of 69%. That's painfully low. Critics' consensus reads, some of the evil magic is gone, as this trilogy capper dispenses with most of the scares, but Bruce Campbell's hammy charm and Sam Raimi's homage to classic visual effects make for a fun enough adventure. The evil magic is gone my ass.
Well, it's almost like they got mad that it got more comedic. I'm like, it's been noticeable that this has become more comedic. Like the first one was straight up horror. Sequel mixes it very well against why it's my personal favorite of the original bunch. And then this one's just full on comedy.
Well, I like you need Evil Dead 2 to be the bridge. If they just went from like the hardcore freakiness of Evil Dead to just a slapstick adventure with Army of Darkness, then I could understand the disconnect. But you've got Evil Dead 2 as the best of both worlds bridge, so why are you disappointed?
Yeah. It's like they just can't be happy. Critics just can't be happy.
They can't. We've seen that time and time again. Whatever they get, they wanted the opposite. And when they get that, they're like, well, why didn't you consider that thing I didn't want before?
Yeah.
Oh, Like
until Oscar season, and then all of a sudden they're just like, God, what a masterpiece of cinema. And you're like, oh my God.
all film critics are like a crazy ex-girlfriend who you just could not please. And eventually you have the like, I'm trying, damn it, I'm trying. What do you want from me? Fight.
And then the Oscar season's just like the really good makeup sex that keeps you two in that toxic ass relationship.
Oscar season is when she's finally back on her meds, and you're just like, things are okay. And then February, March roll around, and all of a sudden she can't get a refill, and crazy starts rearing its ugly head again. That's fucked up, but you know what? I'm standing by it.
I like it.
The film remains a beloved cult classic, yet another great entry in what may just be horror's only flawless franchise, and there's nothing wrong with that. So with that, let's give this film some much deserved awards. We have the Quentin Tarantino Award for the best line of the film, the Thomas Newman Award for the best music moment of the film, the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the best performance, and the John Carpenter Award for the best scene. So let's start with the Tarantino, the best line. What do you got? There are some great dialogue moments in this movie.
Look, this was really hard because I was trying hard just not to pick something that everyone knows, but those lines are so good that I was like, fuck, I'm just gonna pick one of the well known ones. I can't help myself. I did almost put "get the fuck out of my face" because it's like it's a quick line that's so funny and out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What I ultimately went with was when he is being fed by the beautiful ladies, and the one lady comes up to him, our main female protagonist, comes up to him, and he says, "First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me, blow."
Don't forget this the spitting of the grape first.
Yeah, he doesn't say blow me, he goes blow and spits out the fucking grape.
I didn't take that as like a sexual advance. I took that as get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
Like blow, beat it.
Yeah.
I do love that. It's just Ash does not forgive and he does not forget. You're gonna throw a rock at his head. He's gonna be like, the fuck.
Yeah. Dude, there's just so much good shit. I was like that, and then obviously good guy, bad guy. I'm the guy with the gun. Like, God, he has such great lines in this movie.
He does. I was torn between two scenes. I ultimately went with the one I picked because it's the thing I say most often from this movie. It's when he's being introduced to Henry the Red, and Henry's describing his titles and who he is, and Ash is just like, well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now: Jack and shit. And Jack left town. That is just, oh, that's great. It's like, dude, you are a prisoner. Like, you are nothing right now. We're all fucked.
Yeah, I almost had that one right now.
I love that. I almost went. It's too long, but the scene where Ash reveals the boomstick and threatens everybody. Shop smart. Shop smart. You got that? Just so pissed off at these people. I love that.
Yeah. Oh god, that scene's great. This is my boomstick. And he just goes on about.
He's describing he's selling it. Retail is $109.95. You can find this in the sporting goods department. Ridiculous. I love the when he climbs out of the pit and he's like, all right, who wants some? Who's next?
I like when he just points to that guy. You want some? You?
Huh? You want a little? The guy's just like, I don't know what's happening.
Oh god.
That's perfect. I mean, a line I hope one day I get to use. Give me some sugar, baby. I mean,
oh god. If I do it, it's because I'm being goofy. And yeah. I know it's not going to work in my favor, but fuck it.
That's not a line you use at the bar to pick someone up. That's in your wedding vows for the one. Because the one you The one who will love that is the one you should be with. Oh,
Yeah, it was hard. I really tried like thinking outside the box, but like this is one of those movies where I'm like, God, they gave him some really great dialogue in this movie.
one of my all-time favorites is when the wise man comes up to Ash and tells him like, we need the Necronomicon to send you back. Only you can go get it. And he's like, oh, come on, man, I don't want to do this shit. And the one witch lady gets possessed and is like, well, we're gonna get you. And she starts attacking people. Ash just goes, yo, she bitch, let's go. Fuck. How many
Oh,
badass moments can one person have?
in one movie alone.
It's fucking great. Oh,
God.
and then in the ending, in the finale, I love his reintroduction when that one demon shows up and he's like, "Who the hell are you?" And he goes, "Name's Ash. Housewares." Just fuck, come on.
I like how he says the line, give me some sugar, baby. To the lady at the end, I'm like, God damn it.
No, he says, "Hail to the king, baby,"
Oh yeah, Hell's the King, baby.
which is awesome. And I have a shirt that says that because, of course,
Yeah.
this is it's so great. It's the perfect amount of hammy and awesome. If anyone else was saying this shit, I'd be like, "Oh, this movie sucks." But it's Bruce Campbell,
Well,
and
he knew how to sell it.
yeah, I believe that he believes he's like how badass he is.
Yeah. I'll say it's just because Bruce Cameron knows how to sell these lines.
Which to you is the better groovy? When Ash gets the chainsaw hand in 2, or when he gets the robot hand somehow in 3?
Oh, when he gets the chainsaw hand too. It's my favorite time he says groovy.
I got to go with the robot hand. Because at the
Well,
time, I didn't know that was a throwback. I was just like, oh, groovy. Okay. Weird thing to
groovy.
say. I love that he just has a working prosthetic hand he made in the Middle Ages and it's never addressed.
Yeah, right. It's never
Even in the
brought up
show, he gets like a power glove and that also works, and that's never addressed.
Yeah, but see, even in the show, like that was like their little reference about having to say anything, and it's never talked about. Like he just has his hand.
Can we even make prosthetics like that you can like
No,
work with your mind?
no,
I didn't think so. Uh,
they're trying to do stuff like that, but
oh yeah, I know we've come close. I know there's some companies have come close. I remember seeing this one video of a woman using a prosthetic hand to tie her shoe. Like
Mhm.
that was pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, I'm sure with the scary fucking quick advances with AI, we're getting there.
But I'm pretty sure you couldn't just grab whatever's in your trunk in the Middle Ages and just build that in like a half hour. But I don't care. Ash could.
Yeah,
The Thomas Newman Award, the best music moment. What do you got? This is the Danny Elfman score. Pretty cool. Great moments.
yeah. So the score is really good on this. Like, I mean, this is probably if you were to pinpoint an Evil Dead score, it'd be this one, admittedly, of the bunch. Um, the moment in specific that I grabbed was when they're getting prepped for like the Army of Dead, when the castle's getting ready and the score has like this nice little like homage to obviously like fantasy films back in the day, and the let's get ready for the fight scene, but there's still that little horror tinge to it because we're still an Evil Dead film, so um and it's the army of dead people we're fighting, so it's like it's just a really cool moment with the score.
You're talking the montage when like they're prepping the gunpowder and Ash is teaching them how to fight. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a
yeah,
great sequence.
yeah. That's what I went with. I like again like the homage to like the fantasy epics of the day of like, okay, we're getting ready to have the big fight, but because it's in its core an Evil Dead film, it's Army of Dead. There's you can kind of catch it. There's that tinge of like horror in it because they're getting ready to fight the Army of the Dead for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm?
I went with immediately after that, actually, when the dead roll up to the castle and they've got their like their drummers and their flautists, like they're a medieval army, but they're all bones. And it's the same bit of music as the opening titles, but this time you've got like, you know, skeleton soldiers on bagpipes and shit. It's
Oh,
just it's so neat. It's so Elfman. It's so Raimi.
oh
And
yeah.
perfect.
It it's so good.
I had that, and then I almost went with when Henry the Red and his people show up to back them up. And it's like triumphant, and he's like, death. It reminded me of Lord of the Rings. I love when
I can see that now. Yeah,
the good guys overwhelmed. It looks like they're going to lose, and then holy shit, so many reinforcements are here because of a thing that we talked about earlier, and they're making good on that, and they're going to win. I love that moment in movies.
oh yeah. It like I said, to Raimi's credit, he took advantage of the budget, especially with Danny Elfman score advantage of the budget, and was like, give me something that's still Evil Dead, right? Still kind of Evil Dead in its core, but a little bit more operatic, a little bit more like this is my fantasy film, this is my epic that I get to make. And you can feel that in the score, and it works a lot. It was actually kind of hard because I'm like, there's a lot of good like moments with the score.
For sure. Definitely. It's very triumphant, but also still very much, steeped in horror. Doesn't forget its roots. It's a good mixture.
Yeah, yeah.
The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award, Best Performance. Gee, I wonder who's gonna get this.
Look, this one's obvious. I couldn't give it to anyone else. I'm sure you put down the same name. It's Bruce fucking Campbell. Like,
I love, Embeth Davidtz is great. Ian Abercrombie is great. The guy who plays Arthur and Henry, they're great. But this is Bruce Campbell's finest hour, as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned.
like look between Evil Dead 2 and this one, this is Ash. This is Ash, and this is why we fell in love with the character, and this is why he's become such a scream king, if you will. That I know that's a term that gets thrown around sometimes for the male icons of the horror genre. Um, yeah, and it makes sense here. It's like, yes, this is someone that he found a way to make someone that I feel like in real life you would hate in real life. You would be like, fuck this guy so much. Um, but he found a way to make him so likable, so lovable, and you'd be like, you know what? He's an idiot, but he's our idiot.
I love that you point out that in real life, this kind of guy would be so insufferable because we kind of see that at the end when Ash is at S Mart telling his story to Ted Raimi, and Ted's just like, yeah, okay, just thinks
Yeah,
he's completely full of shit. Because of course you would. If some dude's telling you that he time traveled to the Middle Ages and saved a kingdom, you'd be like, go away.
yeah. I'd be like, dude, get out of my face. I'm just trying to get done with my shift so I can go home.
That's great. Yeah, so Bruce Campbell for both of us, no surprise there. Uh, the Carpenter Award, the best scene. This one is going to be interesting. What is the best scene of the movie for you?
Oh god, I had so many written down. Because I love that, like, in so many moments, while Raimi is obviously doing something a lot different with this film, but still getting his Raimi-isms in there, like the scene in the castle and the Deadeye attacks and the camera zooming in and the shaking him, and like that's all just per Raimi at his finest. But the scene that I had to put, because it always stuck with me when I first saw this on TV as a kid, and I thought it was a hilarious scene as a kid, and it translates down to me at the age of 30. But the scene I ended up putting down ultimately was when he gets to the cabin and has to fight the miniature versions of himself. It's not horror at all in this franchise, but it is so slapsticky, goofy, and just what the fuck am I watching that you can't help but laugh. And it leads to one of the most insane fucking moments of like a full grown bad Ash coming out of him. And I'm like, all right, this is the movie we're watching. So yeah, I've always really liked this scene. I think it's a fun scene. Camel just you can just really giving his all in this scene and giving us some of that physical comedy he was really good at back in the day. Not saying he's not still good at it, but obviously he'll say it himself. He's not in the shape he used to be to do the physical comedy.
You definitely got to watch the director's cut because one of the biggest changes is Raimi has this scene a lot lengthier, and there's a lot more crazy, wacky moments that happen between Ash and the little guys.
Oh yeah.
One thing I do real quick before I say mine, I don't think Bruce Campbell gets enough credit for his dual performance in this movie as not just Ash, but also as Bad Ash. Like under all that makeup, that's Bruce Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
nobody ever talks about that. He does such a great job as the bad guy of this movie too.
Yeah, people forget about that. Like, I'm like, he's actually playing Bad Ash. Like, I don't think he's ever really got enough credit for his physicality back in his day. I think so many people just know. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of his mainstream credit was because of Burn Nerdist, and I'm not saying anything bad on that show. But I know, like for example, that's how my mom knew about him because she watched that show. He's in it. Um, but and he'll admit it. He's not in the shape he used to be to do that stuff. But man, back in the day, the physical stuff, especially if you got watch Evil Dead too, the physical stuff he could do was impressive.
Oh yeah, in this one, he's doing sword fights. He's falling down hills. He's flipping around, doing all sorts of shit. The scene I went with is the scene that made me fall in love with the Evil Dead franchise at a very young age, and that is the pit.
I had that one, dude. That's such a good scene.
Just from the get go, you first that one dude does the like worst fake jump I've ever seen in my life, jumping into the pit. He's like supposed to be pushed, but he like does this little hop. I always loved how horrible. Like there was no second take on that, but that
No,
guy falls in, he like explodes in a geyser of blood. Everyone's like, "What the fuck?" And Ash gets tossed in, and you're like, "What's down there?" And then that lady pops out of nowhere, starts punching him. And when I was a kid, I was like, "What the hell's going on right now? Is this a demon, a zombie? Why is it punching him? What is this?" And yeah, I love when the wise man throws down the chainsaw and he like leaps into the air, catches it perfectly. It's so over the top.
dude, it's over top, and it's one of the few instances where this film kind of embraces horror for a quick second when they're in the pit and that thing comes out. Um, but yeah, it's like again, Raimi just knows how to mix zany, over the top, like Three Stooges type of humor because that's what he's into
Yeah.
with these horror elements, and it's all encapsulated perfectly in this pit scene.
Well, I love that the pit bitch, as it's called, not the first lady, but like the weird freaky creature that comes out of the wall. That was not supposed to be in the movie. That was Raimi turned that down. The effects people created this thing, showed it to Raimi, and Raimi was like, I don't know, might be too much. Raimi didn't know there was a guy in the costume, and the guy went and scared the shit out of Raimi, and he was immediately like, "It's in the movie. Holy shit, it's in the movie," because it freaked him out. He's like, "Okay, you win." I love that.
Nice. Okay.
That's cool. My favorite moment of the pit scene by far is when Ash takes off his belt and just like whips it upward and it like catches onto the chain immediately.
Yes.
It's so stupid.
Oh,
That, like
dude.
which noise they added.
I like when he gets out of the pit and like he's having that big speech and he just like shoots the fucking thing because apparently that demon had no issues getting out of the pit. I'm like, that thing should have attacked y'all a long time ago. If it can get out of the pit that easy.
It got crushed by spike walls and it still climbed out of there.
Yeah.
I love Ash. The next one of you primates even touches me. I wonder, like, what was he about to do if that thing hadn't come out of the ground? Who else who's going to get shot if that thing hadn't climbed?
Someone was about to. That was a man that was done.
I love when real quick, just when he climbs out and he's like, I need to hit something. He tells Arthur, your shoelace is untied. Just waits for him to look down so he can punch him. Oh, it's great. Other scenes I considered the fight between Ash and Bad Ash in the castle when Bad Ash becomes, burns up, climbs back over the wall as a skeleton.
Great. Yeah, I considered the book scene when he forgets the words. Like that scene is so fucking great. Again, like Raimi's just so good with like that kind of zany comedy, and this scene is another case of it. Like I love when he's like he deflects the hands and he's like haha, and they all just fucking grab him.
I love the like initial screams like and then, like from every direction punch him in the face.
Yeah. When he gets like sucked in the one, he's like, okay, so not that one again.
When he comes out and his like face is like 2 feet long, he's just like he doesn't know what to do. I'm like, what the fuck is? I love this movie.
Yeah, I just love how like the Deadites just at this point they're like, we're not even gonna try to kill this guy. We're just gonna keep fucking with him.
The like flying book that like chomps on him like it's some like bird.
So remember what I told you about Evil Dead Rise and what they said, all 3 books, right? If you
Yeah.
notice, watching it, that's the book that bites him. And what kind of book was in Evil Dead Rise?
Oh my God. I didn't even make that connection. That is crazy.
Uh-huh.
I want to see the whole book come back. Like, how's that going to work out in a reboot? I want the whole book to open and Ash flies out like, oh, he's been in there for like 20 years.
Oh, thank God.
Oh boy. Yeah, a lot of those are all great moments. I love the chase scene in the woods with the camera demon that's in all the movies, whatever you call that.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I love how close it gets to him.
Dude, so many times. I've always loved those, and all the movies I've loved those scenes, and like how unflinchingly close they'll get.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
it's just a camera on like a certain rack, like moving fast, but it's so cheap, but such an effective shot every single time.
Yeah, I remember when I think it was in Ash vs. Evil Dead, they finally like briefly showed what everyone sees, and it's like this monstrous like cloud. I'm like, Jesus.
I always laugh when Ash gets in the windmill and he's like up against the door and this thing's just pounding, and eventually Ash just snaps and starts screaming. Yeah, it's great. I love the ending when Ash finally gets to prove himself at S-Mart and show everyone that he's not some, deluded, cute weirdo. He's a fucking hero, is what he is.
You get to finally show Ted Raimi what's up. I love that Sam just keeps finding ways to get Ted Raimi into these movies in different ways.
One of my favorite moments of the new one was Henrietta's Pizza.
Oh yeah.
Come get some. Ah,
I was like, I see what they did there.
that's nice. That and the whole, Dead by Dawn and all that. There was
Oh, I fucking lost them when they started screaming Dead by Dawn. I was like, yes.
ah cool. All right, Army of Darkness. Yeah, delicious, delicious movie. Would 100% eat again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Groovy.
right. It's fucking amazing. I've had friends who shall remain nameless. Who I showed this to, and they didn't care for it.
Well, they're wrong. No, aren't they?
And I don't understand it. It's like, do you just not enjoy having fun? Like, what? Oh, it's sad.
Look, you know me. When I'm you like what you like, but there are some horror films that are just fun that I'm like, and I'm like the ones I'm really into, like the more mainstream ones that people know. That I'm like, if you don't like this, like, who are you? Do you not just like fun?
There are certain films I don't like to be. I hate gatekeepers. I try not to have that mentality. But there are certain films
Mm-hmm.
that if you don't like them, I do question things about you where I'm like, how? Like,
Yeah.
we all know what those movies are. There's certain like Mount Rushmore sacred films that when somebody says, "Oh, I don't care for that," you're like, okay.
My first question was like, who hurt you?
Yeah, it's like, do I want to continue this conversation or should I just walk away now?
Yeah. Look, by no means am I a gatekeeper. I fucking hate gatekeepers. Um, like I rolled my eyes so hard when like grown adults were trying to say like you're not a metalhead if you got into Metallica by watching Stranger Things. Like, oh my fucking God. Dude, get over yourself, you 4-year-old fuck. Um, but sometimes like certain comments are said that even like as much like I'm such a movie nerd that I'm just like it kind of stings on. I'm like, mm.
I know.
It's like you know what I mean? It's like it's just like a little like, oh, I don't I like this horror film, but I don't really like some horror film. So I'm going, oh, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up.
I just want to make one thing clear because I know who's going to listen to this. I'm not talking about Star Wars. I get it if you don't like Star Wars. I understand. It's divisive. I'm talking about like Jaws, Back to the Future, The Shining. We all know these movies.
Yeah, I second Connors. Don't worry, fellow Filmgazm podcaster.
Take my advice. Don't ever be a gatekeeper. Be a keymaster.
Yeah, don't be a gatekeeper. Don't be a gatekeeper. Don't get mad that like people are getting into Metallica off a TV show, off a very successful TV show.
Why do you care? It has nothing to do with your love of Metallica. So just listen to Metallica and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, guess what? It worked out because they came out with a new album that was pretty good. And guess what? They probably got a boost in fans because of that show that listened to that new album. Whoa.
Before we get into our next segment, I do just want to point out that I have met Bruce Campbell on 3 separate times, and he is every bit the class act awesome gentleman you would expect him to be.
I'll never forget when I know one of the times was you and me met him. And I'll never forget that one guy first off, he waited for the entire line to die down. And then when he was leaving, that one guy ran up to him and was like, Mr. Cameron, Mr. Cameron, my brother or whoever, my friend, whatever, whoever it was, is on the phone. He's a real big fan of the Evil Dead movies. And instead of like shooing the guy away, he took the phone and went, what's his name? And then went, hey, I was like, John, motherfucker was, hey, it's Bruce Campbell. And like talked to him on the phone. Like I caught that and I was like, dude, what a fucking, he could have easily been like, dude, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of my face. Like,
If he'd said that to me, I would have been like, that's from Army of Darkness, and I wouldn't have been mad.
yeah. He easily could have done that. He easily could have fucking left before the line even was done, but he didn't. He waited till the line was done. He took that phone and said, like, asked him, like, hey, what's his name? Okay, cool. Let me talk to him.
Yeah, he's the man. The second time was at a showing of Evil Dead 2 in the woods outside Austin, which was such a fucking, that was cool. But he did a signing line before the movie, and I had a S-Mart employee badge that I got at Comic-Con a few years ago, and he signed it, and he told me to shop smart. And I was like, I was dying. I was like, he told me to shop smart.
Yeah. With that, I give him credit. He will call someone out if he has to. I don't know if you saw it when they did the new Evil Dead was screened at South by Southwest, and some jackass when they're trying to do the Q&A yield, that was the worst piece of shit or something like that. Like worst fucking movie ever. Like loud, you could hear him in the whole audience, and like was thrown out. And finally, like Bruce Campbell goes, "Dude, shut the like straight up." To him goes, "Shut the fuck up and get out." Bruce Campbell like was like, "Get the fuck out. We don't care. Get out. Why are you even here, man? Go away."
It's a valid point. I mean, why would you go to a Q&A of that just to shit on the movie? Like, what?
Yeah. Ugh. And like, dude, I mean, the moment Bruce Campbell did that, like the whole audience was just clapping and cheering because it was like, hell yeah, like Bruce, call his ass out. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's the man, the one and only Ash Williams, and I hope we haven't seen the last. I probably have, but I hope we haven't.
In live action form, he has not ruled out animated form, and they have been kind of cryptic and vague about an animated Evil Dead project. I'm just saying they've been very vague about it. He's been kind of vague about that too. So I'm like, something in the works that we don't know about.
Well, I was talking to somebody earlier today about like the Marvel press junkets. It's like, why do we even have those? They can't say shit about these movies. It's a super huge secret. So like, why are we still doing that? So just obviously, if he is doing an Ash project, he's not going to be like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. This is the secret. This is coming out next week. He's not going to do that. So just stop asking him about it.
Yeah, unless it's Tom Holland, you might get the goods if you have him on the press junket.
Thankfully, though, I've noticed him and Ruffalo now have accountability buddies who basically shut their shit down when they start talking too much. I noticed on the Endgame circuit, it was Cumberbatch who was assigned to Holland and was basically kept interrupting Holland with anecdotes about something that had nothing to do with the Avengers because Holland was starting to get too excited and just start spilling shit.
God. I mean, granted, I'm sure right now they're not worried about press junkets. What I've been seeing with Marvel has been a lot of rumors of restructuring, and I think they're trying to correct issues they had with Phase 4 big time.
Well, you know what? As we've seen with Ant-Man and Eternals, reminds me of a great quote from Mickey Rourke. If you can make God bleed, people will cease to believe in him. That's from Iron Man 2. Marvel, the cracks have finally shown, and now everyone is scared.
Yep, the cracks finally shown. There's obviously the stuff going on with Jonathan Majors. So,
you know where there's no cracks? Evil Dead. It's doing great. It's been doing great since 1981. There's been some delays over the years, but you know what? There was a product eventually, and it was good.
Yeah, every time.
With that, let's check it out on Letterboxd and see what people are saying on our next segment. What's in the box?
in the fucking box. Give me the gun.
Army of Darkness is rocking a 3.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Pretty good. It's a 5 out of 5 for me, hands down.
I think I have like a 3.5 or 4. It's up there.
Seems low.
It's not low. It's like an 8 in my book.
This is a 10. This is not an 8.
Go fuck yourself. Hey,
you changed, man.
Get the fuck out of my face.
I've got 4 reviews here for you. I hope they can make you laugh. This first one's from Ciara. Don't know what it was about Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 that made Sam Raimi look back at them and decide the only logical conclusion to the trilogy was to send Ash to 1300 AD to fight a skeleton army, but I absolutely love where his mind was at. 4 stars. It is weird. It's like you got 2 movies of, a college student fighting demons in the woods. Where do you go for the 3rd movie? Medieval England. Can you elaborate? No.
And that is how Sam Raimi's mind works, ladies and gentlemen. Most people have a different logical conclusion, not him.
True. This next one's from Casey Malone. This was the coolest movie I'd ever seen when I was 13, and it turns out very little has changed in 26 years. 5 stars. I'm right there with you, Casey. Yeah. I love this as a kid. I love it even more now.
Yeah. I'm with her on that one, yeah.
This one's from Hi, I'm Not Maverick. Okay.
Don't want you to be. I don't like either Top Gun movie, so proceed.
Maybe you're Goose.
I stand by my statement. I still don't like either Top Gun movies.
This one had me laughing. I never thought about this, but now it's all I can hear. Why do the skeletons sound like Quagmire? 4 stars. I just ruined Army of Darkness for you forever. Now you're only going to hear Quagmire as the skeleton.
Just a whole lot of giggity goo and him trying to hit on Lois.
Oh my god. I love that. This last one's from Steven. Universal trying to bury the Evil Dead franchise with a PG period piece and accidentally releasing one of the greatest action fantasy films of all time. 5 stars. Be careful what you wish for, punks.
He's not wrong. Like Universal, again, the epitome of a company that just will at one point embrace horror and come out with shit like Cocaine Bear, and then quickly say, we're not making the Universal movies horror because horror doesn't make money. They're so flip and flop, and they're like, hey, look, we know you did the Evil Dead films and they were kind of successful, but we totally don't want to embrace that one bit. Can we do something different? Can we just bury those 2? How's that sound?
Wish Raimi had been like, well, you could go fuck yourself. We could do that.
You can go Medieval Dead on your ass. How's that sound? Universal.
Oh, man. Perfect.
He keeps trying to sell that title to them the whole time.
It's a great title. I feel like you shouldn't need to sell that. That's such a perfect title for what this movie is.
Dude, if I was thinking, I'd be like, yep, that's the title. That is the fucking title.
Oh, unbelievable. Well, that's what's in the box. It's a beloved film. People have had it for years. They will have it forever. This is one of those films that I feel like will be, a cult favorite till the end of time.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, this franchise itself, has endured since 1981. I mean, looking at, I don't know how many people really pay attention to the box office. Not that I put stock into it if it's a movie I like and I want a sequel. So all you fuckers sure gone and seen Renfield when it came out over the weekend. But that's besides the point now, isn't it? Y'all let it flop. Nick Cage is apparently never getting his fucking time back in the mainstream spotlight. Fuck all of you. Underweight in Renfield, not holding any grudges. But this is a franchise that has, based off the recent movie, right? Evil Dead Rise. It's already profitable. It was like a 20 million budget. It's already made like 40 in 1 weekend alone. This franchise is not going anywhere. This is a dedicated fan base that has clearly done for people who grew up with these original set of films, have had children, they've gotten their children into it, and so on and so forth. And this obviously Armor of Darkness is a part of that. It will live on forever. It will continue to be a beloved part of the series. But this franchise as a whole, I don't see ever going away. I think when it comes to horror, And honestly, I argue just cinema in general, because there's plenty of people that aren't horror fans that know what Evil Dead is. This franchise will endure and continue on for years, long past the unfortunate day that the original creators are no longer with us.
Damn straight. This is a hell of a legacy, and that's it. This movie, the legacy is what matters.
Mm.
So before we sign off, let's rank all 5 films of this franchise. Worst to best, worst being just the least of the best. I don't want to say worst film because there's no worst film here. It's 5 really good movies. So the least of the best. I don't know. Number 5.
That was not one of our finer moments right there.
I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah, no, look, with this ranking, this was tough because it's like John Wick over again, where like I like all of these films. Like nothing dips even remotely below an 8. You know what I mean? Like nothing dips below that in this franchise. And on that note, my number 5 is the film at hand, Army of Darkness, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Ouch. Damn.
Again, hey, calm down. Again,
you like the blood more than you like the laughs. I got you.
Yeah, and that's pretty what I'm out to. Is like I still have such a good time with this moment. I do really enjoy watching this movie. But yeah, I'm much more of the either the Evil Dead 2 hybrid of the horror and the comedy, or the straight up going for it, like the more recent installments. This has been my cup of tea with that. Like I said, there's still a lot to like about this film.
Yeah. Okay. My number 5 is Evil Dead Rise.
Wow, the new kid on the block.
Well, I've only seen it one time, like earlier today. I don't know enough to really judge it long term. It's been it's the only one I've seen one time, so I'm gonna, before I decide my full feelings about this one, it's just gonna be in the back here.
Okay. I'm glad you put that, because that's actually my number 4 is the new kid on the block, Evil Dead Rise. Like I saw it Thursday night, it's opening night. I had a really good time with it. There was some, and I blame more of the stupid always happens pre-release hype of like it's the greatest thing ever made. Blah, 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 blah. Like Jesus Christ, people!
Every single movie gets that same hype. It's lost all.
Yeah, it loses its meaning after a while.
Every movie can't be the scariest movie ever made, so stop saying.
Yeah, especially because it's only April. I had a lot of fun with this. Was it my, did I want maybe just a bit more? Yeah, I think I do agree with some people that I want a bit more. But with that, I had a really good time with this new one. The leads were great. The whole sister dynamic that was really good. Alyssa Sutherland, I know she was been getting a lot of praise, and rightly so. She did really good as the Deadite. That's not spoiling anything. It's in the fucking trailers. But like she had a lot of great scenes from like the scenes her the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and her stuff at the door when she's trying to convince her daughter to open it. Like she was knocking it out of the park.
Her physical acting alone, good lord.
Yeah. Like, look, even if you fucking hate this film, this new one, like, do not talk about it. Like, she was phenomenal in this movie. So there's a lot of good things I liked about it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, it definitely I liked a lot of the references. I like that it seems like we're now actually kind of building towards like further installments that won't take a decade to come out based off like events in this film and comments made by creatives and interviews and stuff. So it's a very exciting, it's a fun entry that looks like it's going to lead to a very exciting future for us Evil Dead fans.
That's true. That is true. I like the foundation they've laid for a new spin on the Necronomicon and what it can do.
Yes.
Where are we? My number 4?
Yes, you're number 4.
My number 4 is the 2013 remake.
Really? That one, I had that one much higher.
I like it, but it's hard for me to accept a remake as better than the original. I mean, you really got to blow my balls off, to quote a recent episode we did, to really. I'm talking like The Fly, The Thing. Like I need to. It's got to basically like replace the original. And I like the Evil Dead remake, but it didn't do that. It's a good one. It's a solid reimagining. It's freaky. It's bloody. It's gory. It's vicious. It's unforgiving. The performances are fantastic.
Her balls were still intact, though.
They were. They were. It's been a while since my balls got blown off, which is good because that's a painful reattachment surgery, and I don't want to go through it again.
Yours just don't grow back?
No, regrettably, no. I'm not like Tony Shalhoub and Men in Black. I gotta go see a HMO. That might be my favorite thing we've done yet on this entire run of the show. Just the fucking.
Oh, God, that person was a genius.
That was
Genius Smith.
Oh, they were great. So yeah, the remake, I don't have a problem with it. I like, the characters. Mia, I think, is a good protagonist to root for. A flawed person with problems who steps up and has to pull her fucking hand off.
Oh, that part was brutal.
Oh, God,
that part was metal.
That was metal. That part fucked. So yeah, that's my number 4. But again, no bad movies here.
Yeah. My number 3 is the OG 1981's The Evil Dead. I personally a big fan of this. I think, it still holds up for the most part. Yes, I do think some stuff is obviously kind of like, obviously time has made it corny, if you will. That's just natural into these films. But what they were trying to achieve with this and what they pulled off on such a small budget and really small crew, there's not a lot of people that worked on this original one, is nothing short of amazing. And it's always a fun film to watch. I will say I do tend to kind of watch it myself for people I know that like it, because some people nowadays, it's like you try to put this thing on, they're like, it's corny, it's tame, blah blah. I'm like, okay, you're ruining the fun for me.
Are you hanging out with those people?
No, I stopped hanging out with them after that. I remember one guy, it was when the remake was coming out when I was in college, and he's like, oh, you have the original, because I own all of them. He's like, I want to watch them from the new one. I was like, well, come on, we'll watch them. And he spent about 5-10 minutes going on about like how when Bruce Campbell shoots out the fucking window with the shotgun, how it wouldn't actually blow out like that. I'm like, I don't give a shit, man. I'm like, you're watching a movie where demons are possessing people.
That was made for like whatever Sam Raimi had in his pocket at the time.
Yeah, I'm like, and how the fuck do you know? Because this is a low budget film. I guarantee you they fucking shot the shit out of that window.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah, that's such a weird. I don't like nitpickers who just like to argue. I mean, whenever I nitpick, it evolves into a conversation because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
But when people are just like complaining for the sake of complaining, like you could just go away. I don't need you.
Yeah, it's like, and sure enough, as soon as the movie ended, instead of watching 2 and 3, he's like, all right, I'm just going to go now. He didn't even bother to finish. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
My number 3 is also the original Evil Dead. And you're right, it hasn't aged particularly well, but what movie made on like $350 in 1981 is gonna age amazingly well.
Yeah. A good chunk of the effects still hold up too, in my opinion.
I agree. The claymation stuff, especially, that still looks great.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like we talked about earlier, the pencil in the ankle, that still looks real.
God, it hurts me still every time.
And it's a fun movie. It's entertaining. It's cool. I just think Raimi has, with a budget and with a more clear vision, he has surpassed it.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And actually, on that note, that leads to my number 2, which I do think was the film that surpassed my personal like gold standard what the original trilogy is for me, and that is Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. This film takes the horror elements that worked so well in the first film and mixes it with Raimi's sense of humor, and he's very into like the Three Stooges and things like that over the top physical comedy and zaniness, and meshes it so well together. Create one of the most entertaining fucking movies. Like, when it comes to and thankfully because they had to essentially like recreate the opening, the original film, like the first 5 minutes. It's one of those that like if I ever want to find one to put on to show people like have a good time with, I'm going to pick Evil Dead 2. Um, so many great moments from like like I said, the scene where he's just like laughing as all the objects in the house are laughing at him, and I love the part when he stops and then he just like starts laughing again. The whole house joins him. Him cutting his hand off, getting the chainsaw, and the famous line "groovy," and this film was just so much fucking fun. And then obviously I just loved randomly go around and be like, Bobby Joe. Because god damn, does he just not shut up yelling that name? Um yeah, this when it comes to like if you ask me, you know, of the original trilogy, what's your favorite? I will without a doubt tell you Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. It's so much goddamn fun.
There was a video game made in I think 2005, 2006 called Evil Dead Regeneration on the PlayStation 2, and the opening level is Evil Dead 2, and it recreates the everything laughing in the cabin scene, and you have to shoot everything to shut it up.
God.
And it's great. It's great. It's great. Um, yeah, number two is for me is also Evil Dead 2. This movie's just great. It's fun. I agree it is the gold standard for what Evil Dead can be. And it's just so wacky. We're basically like I love for most of it until there's other people in the movie. We're basically watching Ash lose his goddamn mind until other people show up and they're like, "Oh, this crazy dude with a chainsaw didn't kill everybody here. It's the monsters." The whole thing with Henrietta is so great. It's awesome. It's really cool. It's a great sequel slash reimagining. And yeah, I agree. It is the one I'd go to introduce somebody to Evil Dead who can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because to me, it's a barometer, right? Like at that point, I look at them like, do you want to keep going more comedy or more horror? So do we want to go backwards and watch the original, or do we want to go more into the comedy route and sit through Army of Darkness? It's a barometer for where you want to go with this franchise. I just Evil Dead 2 is it is we talk talks of sequels is always something, right? Sequels are never as good as the original, and I would argue that Evil Dead 2 is one of those rare sequels that outshines the original.
Oh, you're completely right. Definitely. Cool. Well, you're number one. I am shocked.
Yeah, my number one's the 2013 Evil Dead. I fucking adore this one so much. It is what I want Evil Dead to be. Without naming names. There's some people I know that for some reason keep saying this doesn't feel like an Evil Dead film, which I'm like, how? It's produced by the Evil Dead guys and feels exactly like an Evil Dead film if you watch the original film. So no offense, come at me in the group chat later. But I fucking love everything about this film, and I was like a lot of people was hesitant. I was like, oh, you're doing this without Bruce Cameron? Like, oh, are you fucking serious? Like, but then I saw that Red Band trailer. I'll never forget the day I saw that Red Band trailer. I think I showed you. I think I texted you. I was like, dude, you gotta check this shit out.
I think you like came over it with like a computer in your hands and were like, you got to see this.
Yeah.
I remember how insanely excited you were about that.
Yeah. That Red Band made me go, I have to see this like ASAP. And yeah, I went there. It was a Thursday or Friday night, opening weekend night with a full fucking packed theater. And God, what a good time we were having with just the insanity getting brought onto the screen. And just the gallons and gallons of blood that just never stopped. It literally rains blood, like the Slayer song at the end of this movie. And it's fucking batshit great. And I loved every fucking second of it. And I picked it up immediately when it came out, watched it at home thinking like, okay, man, it was just a theater. No, I loved watching it on my own at the theater. I now own, again through Screen Factory, I got a 4K of it that includes the unrated cut as well. This movie is just so good. I will unashamedly people ask like, hey, out of the entire franchise, what's your favorite? I'll be like 2013's Evil Dead. I've gone back to it the most. No disrespect to Bruce Cameron, Sam Raimi. I love what they did with this movie so goddamn much.
That is high praise. I was not expecting that. Makes sense though. It is the goriest one. It's the most unforgiving one, the most uncompromising one, and just has some horrific moments. I get it.
Oh, when she like, oh, the fucking the box cutter to the tongue. Oh my god! Now kiss me, bitch, and like just fucking grabs her. I'm like, shit, dude.
Oh, yeah, it's been a minute since I watched the remake. My number one's Army of Darkness. No surprise there. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies. It's the film that introduced me to the franchise and kept me here. I love it. It's one of my favorite comedies, one of my favorite horror movies. Yeah, this was never going to be a. There was no contest for me.
No, it makes sense. Like I said, it's tough. So people are like, I'm glad, like in a way, we don't have a huge audience. God bless people come at me for this fucking ranking. When it's like, look, this isn't even like my bottom is like I won't ever watch it. This isn't like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre ranking, or any or. And I'm saying this is a huge fan of that franchise in general. With this one, I can go back to any of these easy. Like I'm never gonna be like, oh, you want to watch Army of Darkness? But like, yeah, okay, I'll put it on. Oh, you want to watch Dead by Dawn? Okay, sweet. Oh, you want to watch Riot? Like, oh, you want to fucking binge Ash vs. Evil Dead? Sweet, let's do it. Like, not a single entry in this I hate. It's like we did when we did John Wick. It's just like, okay, which one do I tend to go back to the most? It's really what it kind of amounted to. I mean, I was like, which one have I gone back to the most?
I would love if we had like an international audience of people would be like, "Fuck you!"
Oh, dude, the amount of
yeah.
The amount of hate I would immediately get for daring to put one that doesn't have Bruce Campbell as my number one.
I would love. I want to have that kind of discourse so I can like just completely ignore it.
I'd be like, okay, well, come at me. I don't care.
I'd be on the next episode. I'd be like, I guess no one had anything to say. I mean, I didn't know you guys didn't care about Evil Dead at all. Interesting. Just fuel the fire. I want at least two people to have like, small aneurysms. Just like, just completely pissed off.
All right. How dare you pick one up, Bruce Campbell? Oh my god.
All right, let's recap.
A lot more made without him in the roles now. Okay, so let's just calm the fuck down.
That's true. Read his books, play the games, rewatch the movies. Plenty of BC around. It's not like he's retiring as an actor. Go watch Bubba Hotep. Go watch Maniac Cop. He's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, Dan, you Burn Notice fans out there, get that show. He's in episode of X-Files.
Go watch Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? But I forget the X-Files episode, but he's a character in an X-Files episode.
Season 6, Terms of Endearment. He plays the devil. It's fucking great.
Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah, we love him here. So let's recap our lists. You start.
All right, my number 5, Army of Darkness. Number 4, The New Kid on the Block, Evil Dead Rise. 3, OG, Evil Dead. 2, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. And 1, the controversial number 1 pick, 2013's Evil Dead.
Nice. Mine is number 5, Evil Dead Rise. Number 4, the Evil Dead remake. Number 3, the original Evil Dead. Number 2, Evil Dead 2. Number 1. Sorry, it's listed as 3 here. Number 1, Army of Darkness. Beautiful. Nobody's wrong here.
Yeah. Also, in case anyone does try to come at me, keep this in mind. I'm 30 years old. I was born in 92. So for me, when we've talked about before, I love the 2000s decade of uncompromising, brutal, in-your-face horror. So yes, if you know me, it makes sense why I like this 2013 one so much. It is brutal, it's uncompromising, and for me, that's fun. I don't know why. It's how my brain's wired. Those kind of movies are fun for me.
Yeah, and even if you did, if you committed the horrible sin of picking to top your list of one of the ones that does not have Bruce Campbell in it, keep this in mind. At the end of the day, even for those ones, Campbell and Raimi collected quite a fat check. So it's not like they weren't involved. So
they were actively involved. Hence why when I won't name names, when people were trying to say like 2013 doesn't feel like an Evil Dead film, like how when all 3 of the Evil Dead creators were involved with it every step of the way.
We got a Book of the Dead. We got a cast of disposable teenagers. We got a cabin in the woods. We got chainsaws. We got blood. We got boomstick. We got tree rape. What more could you want?
Yeah, I was like, whatever. Like I'm sorry, when the original three creators are involved, I don't accept that statement whatsoever.
And Bruce Campbell is in that one. Don't forget that.
Yeah, watch past the post credits, but he's in it.
And it is fucking just groovy. And then just looking at the camera, it's exactly the amount I needed. Just a dash of Campbell.
Yeah, so he's in it.
This was a blast. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you like the show, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com or send us a message through the socials. Check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search for me at Connor95, and in my friends list, you can find the rest of the team. Check out the website, filmgazm.com, where I have a link to that letterbox if you want to read reviews. You can also find articles, trailers of upcoming films, and every episode of our show. If you'd like to become a monthly donor to Filmgazm Productions, feel free to click on the link in the episode description. From there, click on Support This Podcast. You can choose to donate $1 a month, $5 a month, or $10 a month. All donations go right back into the show. We really appreciate it. Thanks to the entire Filmgazm team for their constant friendship and contributions to the show. Thanks to Cooley Cow for our awesome theme music. And thanks to you for checking the show out. If you ever stumble onto an ancient book in a cabin in the woods, don't read from it, or you may end up a prophesized hero in the year 1300 AD trying to save a kingdom from the scourge of the dead. Take it easy, keep watching movies, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.